I'm now going to introduce our next creativity expert, who we're so happy was able to make it today, because Hillel Smith was coming back from the airport and we weren't sure if he was going to make it on time. And I was so happy, Hillel, when I saw you in your name there. So we have had, for each chapter, there's actually two experts. So there's like a creativity mentor and a creativity portrait, and it's just amazing. So when you get in, and by the way, you're only meeting about half of the experts today. And it's amazing how incredible everybody is, but you're lucky you get to meet both the art experts today, Siona and Hillel, and it's incredible. I just want to share with you a little bit about Hillel Smith. And Hillel, there's so much to share about you. I'm probably going to leave something out because he is so multi-talented artistically. But the first part that I became very interested in Hillel for was that Hillel does these amazing Jewish murals, huge artwork. And we're going to have one of his murals that's right here, a Hamotzi Lehem min haaretz. But there are murals at Jewish summer camps, murals that he's done with kids. He's been the curator, and I apologize if I get anything wrong, but of the Jewish Street Art Festival in Jerusalem, where they had many artists of murals did art all over the city. And Hillel, in addition to that, he is, as you can tell from this beautiful letterwork, a graphic designer of Jewish, expert in Jewish lettering. Hillel, I was lucky enough to attend one of your workshops at Limud on, he knows so much about the Aleph Bet and about Jewish lettering and the history as well. And if you're lucky enough ever to be near one of Hillel's friends, he makes a very limited edition Shalach Manot basket. Like, he makes his own Shalach Manot that he takes a single paper. He makes strict rules for himself, he described to me, and he makes a limited edition. One had, I think this year or last year's had light that shone through it. It's incredible. And he also has this amazing book of Parsha posters where he did for every Torah portion, he did a beautiful illustration. And that's just a fraction of what he's done. So he's illustrated some Haggadot as well. So Hillel, if you would share with us a little bit about if you want to share about your art, big or small, or big and small, but please share with us just a little bit. Thank you.
Sure. So it is so lovely to be in this such amazing company with all of these other incredible artists. Just seeing everybody else's work and contributions, and exactly what Rabbi Sister was saying, that I think what's so important is that each one of us has a different medium that inspires us, that prompts us to be creative and do the work. And my thing is visual arts, but it's so incredible to be with all of these other people who find it in music and in writing and in performance and all of this. And I think that's really what it comes down to, is finding the mode to be able to express ourselves and to express the parts of Judaism that mean a lot to us. And so for me, I grew up on comic books, and my grandmother used to take me to the art museum, and going to LACMA in LA to see Rene Magritte and Ed Ruscha and all these people who took very different approaches to what art could be. And then as a kid in Los Angeles, I would ride my bike around the city and see all of these different murals that captured a different piece of the community. Because some of these neighborhoods had significant communities from certain countries or from certain ethnic backgrounds, and the murals in those neighborhoods reflected that neighborhood. And for me, when it came down to when I first started painting murals, I thought very hard about, well, I have this particular part of myself and that I want to express, and how do I make my heritage and my neighborhood be represented in this greater citywide conversation? And so that Hamotzi mural that you showed, that's about 3 blocks from where I grew up. And it's on the back of a kosher bakery on a whole strip of kosher restaurants. And to me, it felt so meaningful to be able to put this huge piece of Jewish art right there in the neighborhood that anyone who's Jewish can go by and say, oh, I can read this is a space for me. And for other people who are traveling to this neighborhood, who aren't of the community, to think, oh, this is so cool. I can engage with this community through art. and through the art that I see around me. As a part of that, trying to create a community of other Jewish muralists, because there's a whole bunch of us who were all toiling on our own in our own cities around the world. And I thought, wouldn't it be so cool to have a Jewish mural festival? Like there are all these other mural festivals around the world. And so in 2019, right before the pandemic, there were 10 artists in Jerusalem. We painted 18 murals in 3 weeks, which was an incredible experience painting together. And each one of us representing our Jewish heritage in a different way in the large murals that we were putting together. And the hope was that this was going to be an annual event. And even though the pandemic canceled our plans to do a big program together in summer of 2020, we did a decentralized mural festival over Hanukkah of this past year. So 9 muralists in 8 cities around North America painted Hanukkah murals, which was really incredible. We just did it again for Passover. 4 muralists in 3 cities painted murals about different contemporary issues facing society as part of a think about what contemporary plagues are we dealing with today. And it's such a powerful experience for me, I think, to be able to think, when we make art, often it's how you make a painting for somebody, you make a drawing, and it exists in a gallery space, or it exists in a book, or you make you are performing a dance, and you have to be in the audience to see it. And what I think is so amazing about street art is I can paint a piece on a wall, and it just lives there out in the neighborhood, and people stumble by it and encounter it when they're not expecting to see art or to engage with Jewish content. And my goal is to keep doing that and to put art in front of people when they're not expecting it, to add color to the city, to put a smile on somebody's face, and to also hope that they engage with some Jewish text while they're putting this together. And yeah, some of that is, we were talking about before about artistic midrash. And so I did this book of Parsha posters for each week of the Torah portion. Think about, well, what does this represent to me? And how can I express this in this graphic design illustration format? And the same with the mural of working with a space. What biblical text, what liturgical text, what's meaningful to you in this space? And then think about how we can work on this together to express that through color, through form, and to make work that is, I hope that has legs, that is out there and that reaches people, whenever they come across it.
Thank you, Hillel, so much. I'm so glad you were able to make it today, because we weren't sure with the airport, and I'm so glad. And I just want to ask you one question, because this was one of the most fascinating parts for me. When did you discover that your Judaism and your art connected? Or how did that work?
Sorry, can I ask you to repeat the question one more time? I'm still outside, and the audio cut out for a second.
Of course. I just want to know if you could tell people about how you made the connection between your Judaism and your art. Because at first, I think they were very separate for you. You had art and you had Judaism, and you were very active in both, but they didn't connect. And how did you finally make that connection? Yeah,
so it was an interesting thing. I went through Jewish day school and Jewish summer camp, and my parents were very involved in the synagogue. And it was, being Jewish was such a big part of my life, but the artistic influences that inspired me were so completely outside of that world, right? Because I'm reading Spider-Man and X-Men and going to surrealist art exhibitions, and thought that was so cool, and working graphic design, and I never felt that they overlapped at all. And so I was had some success getting some paintings in some local gallery shows in downtown LA, but I was just one of hundreds of artists trying to make it as a young 20-year-old artist. And what I realized at some point, I was just playing around with some typography and made a piece that had some Hebrew in it that was spray painted, and showed it to a friend of mine who was an art curator, who looked at it and said, "This is amazing. Like, I've never seen anything like this before. I don't know of anyone else who's doing this kind of spray paint work in Hebrew. But also, clearly, you are passionate about this. Like, I can tell by how proud you are of this piece that this is something that you want to do. And so I would encourage you to really focus on this." And that, I think, really, this thing going off my head of, that's totally right. Like, I do love this. I am passionate about this. I think I have something to say here. And that really just changed the entire trajectory of my career, that realizing that just because I had never seen anyone else do Jewish street art before, do work with Hebrew and spray paint before. That doesn't mean that it can't be done. It just means that if I do it, it'll be unique and hopefully reach other people and inspire people because it's this whole new thing. And so for the last, I guess, almost 10 years now, that's really been the focus of everything that I've been doing.
Well, that's amazing. And I just love that because for me, that's so much the essence of what this book was about, because we were sort of in this middle of this pandemic and people are being creative and we're like, you know what if people, adults and children, knew that Jewish creativity was an option and maybe didn't connect those two parts of their lives. And I just loved how when you connected it, it all came together. And we're so lucky to have your beautiful artwork and to have you as an expert in this book. So thank you so very much.